Hello, my name is Alex Oddie, and I'm the National President of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I'm so thankful to be joining you, even if it's only virtually, for the MADD New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania Regional Candlelight Vigil, and I'm looking forward to a time when we can all be together in person. Today, we remember our loved ones lost to the 100% preventable crimes of drunk and drug driving, and those whose lives have been forever changed as a result of someone's choice. I've lost people close to me over the years, but I haven't been exactly where you are. My perspective is different. On July 2nd of 2010, a drunk driver changed my life forever. Until that day, I was a pretty typical 13-year-old girl. My parents were divorced and not often together, but on this day, my mom, dad, 7-year-old brother, and I spent the day at my dad's lake house. We planned to visit another lake for the July 4th holiday, and we wanted to make sure our boat was working properly before we made the trip. It was still daylight when my mom and brother got in the boat to drive it back to our house. I followed behind on a jet ski, just in case they got stuck somewhere. I don't remember what happened next, but my parents will never forget watching a man on a bass boat speeding toward their little girl at more than 60 miles per hour. A blood draw 2.5 hours later revealed that the boat's driver had a BAC several times over the legal limit for driving. The boat hit me from the side, threw me off the jet ski, went up over the jet ski and landed on top of my body. I spent 3.5 minutes face down in the water. The impact shook my brain so hard inside my head it started bleeding in 4 places, and doctors couldn't make it stop. In addition to a severe brain injury, the impact broke my jaw, neck, and collarbone, lacerated my liver, and shattered both of my femurs. The boat's propeller severed my right leg. My mom, a former trauma nurse, had never seen anyone as badly injured as I was survive. When the helicopter airlifted me from the lake, she and my father did not expect to see me alive again. Over the next 7 days, I underwent 8 emergency surgeries. I spent a week in a coma and more than a month in hospitals. I spent several months in a wheelchair and 6 weeks in a neck brace. I had to relearn how to read, write, and walk for what felt like the first time. To no fault of my own, this was my new life. But the woman that little girl would have grown up to be was gone, and the life she had was over. Others of you who have suffered injuries because of someone's choice to drink and drive will know what I mean. It's hard to articulate the trauma that comes with living your life as a victim of someone else's preventable crime, but even more difficult to explain the devastation that comes with the realization that it's still happening and that it's still happening to other people. For those of you who are early in your grief, I want to thank you. Thank you for your courage to be here with us. Thank you for sharing your memories and your stories. For all of you here today, thank you for honoring your loved ones and your stories. I'm so very sorry for the circumstances that have brought us together, but I'm so thankful that you found yourself at MADD. While our stories are different, we share the burden of grief with each other as we love and honor those we have lost and support those who are still here with us. I want to remind you that although we are together in our grief, we're also together in our joy. The happy times spent with our loved ones and the memories of life before a drunk driver irrevocably changed us. I also want to encourage you. Please know that your loved one and your story will not be forgotten. Not by you, by MADD, or by me. It is my true honor and privilege to hear your stories, to get to know your loved ones through you, and to carry them in my heart as we fight to see a day when there are no more stories like ours. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. My name is Shawn Hurst, and I am the Regional Executive Director for New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I would like to thank you all for joining us this morning to commemorate those who have been impacted by drunk and drug driving. The unwavering strength you exhibit is the most important aspect of MADD's mission. You are the motivation within our mission to give us the drive to make a difference throughout our communities to eliminate impaired driving. We will continue to fight together to create a legacy for those who are injured and for those who cannot be here today. It is an honor to aid each of you in this unimaginable process as we work together to fulfill MADD's vision of no more victims.
Hi, MADD family. Rachael Browngardt, Victim Services Regional Director for MADD New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Thank you for being a part of today's event as we take time to honor and to remember all of our loved ones impacted by impaired driving. Today marks the final day of Crime Victims' Rights Week. This year's theme underscores the importance of helping crime survivors find their justice, enforcing victims' rights, expanding access to services, and ensuring equity and inclusion for all. Throughout this week, MADD invited you to join us in renewing our commitment to serving victims of crime as we work to highlight and bring awareness to the rights and services available to all victims of crime. But most importantly, it must be recognized that behind every drunk driving statistic, every crime victim is a person whose life was full of family, friends, hopes and dreams, love and laughter, full of life. Collectively, we are mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, friends, neighbors, and coworkers, community members. Today, while we pay tribute to our loved ones, I'm reminded of just how grateful I am for this supportive community, a community of support, compassion, and love for one another. Thank you again for being a part of today's Virtual Candlelight Vigil, and we do hope that you enjoy.
Hi, my name is Stephen Benvenisti, and I am so proud to be the co-chair of Mothers Against Drunk Driving New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I'm currently a partner at the law firm of Davis, Saperstein, and Solomon. But before I became a lawyer, when I was a senior in college, I was out with my friends one night. I was having the time of my life, and a drunk driver on the roadway suddenly lost control of his vehicle. He was going over 50 miles per hour, and he crashed right into my body when I was crossing the street. According to witnesses in the reconstruction, my body was thrown 70 feet and I landed unconscious and face down, bleeding in the roadway. My parents received the phone call that so many of you received, a phone call that every parent prays that they'll never get. It was a phone call from the police department and from the doctors that I was struck by a motor vehicle being driven by a drunk driver. The doctors actually told my parents that my injuries were so serious that I was in the deepest possible coma, that CAT scans had already revealed severe brain damage to my brain's frontal lobe, cortex, and brain stem, and that my brain was hemorrhaging and swelling internally. In that first phone call, they actually asked my parents to consent to my organ donation because it didn't look like I would live for more than a couple of hours. Even though I was in the hospital for almost half a year, I was in a coma for almost 2 weeks, to this day, I consider myself one of the lucky ones. You see, once I had my own 2 kids who are currently in college, that was when I realized that I'm no closer to understanding, even after everything that I've been through, I'm really no closer to understanding what it must be like for all of you to experience the pain that you've been experiencing. I really don't know what it must be like to lose a loved one, to lose a family member to a drunk driver. I can only imagine that your pain must be indescribable. And all I can say is that on my behalf, on behalf of every volunteer with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, on behalf of everyone who's ever worked with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we are so sorry, and we extend our deepest and most heartfelt condolences. But I want to share with you that all of you, by sharing your stories, by sharing the story of your loved one, your family member who died so unnecessarily due to a drunk driver, I'm here to tell you, to actually guarantee you that you are saving lives. I am certain of that. I've been involved with Mothers Against Drunk Driving now for more than 3 decades. I've testified before legislatures. I've represented victims and their families against drunk drivers and establishments that serve those drunk and drug drivers. And I am convinced that your sharing of your story is having a direct impact on there being less crashes and even less fatalities. And just to let you know what a powerful role you are playing by sharing your story and by allowing the memory of your loved one to continue, please understand that the life that you're saving is now guaranteeing that there is now a family somewhere in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or anywhere in the country that doesn't have to mourn the empty seat at the dinner table for that loved one who was lost due to a drunk driver. Because of that life that you've saved, I can tell you that that individual who now gets to live can now contribute to society, can start their own family, their family can contribute to society, and it goes on and on and on just because of your involvement with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, just because of your selfless giving of yourself and sharing the wonderful memory of your loved one. So in closing, I want to share with you, of course, again, my heartfelt condolences to you for your loss. Condolences on behalf of every single volunteer with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Condolences on behalf of everyone who's ever worked with Mothers Against Drunk Driving for your losses. But also, I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to you for taking time out of your life to do everything that's needed to hopefully one day be a part of a world where we can all say that there are no more victims of drunk and drug driving in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or anywhere in this country. Thank you so much for all that you do, and God bless you all.
Hi, my name is Elisa McMorris, and in the fall of 2018, my son Andrew was killed by a drunk driver. I decided tonight to video myself in his bedroom, a place that I haven't touched since he left this earth. We are all here today to honor our loved ones that were taken too soon from this life. It is hard to find the right words, and when I find myself stuck, I'm reminded of the words spoken at my son's funeral. This is not how it should be. This is not how it could be, but this is how it is. On September 30th, 2018, I dropped my son off with my husband for a hike with his Boy Scout troop. Andrew was 12 years old. Less than 2 hours later, a drunk driver plowed into the group of Boy Scouts as they hiked along the shoulder of David Terry Road on Long Island. The driver plowed through 4 boys, the last being my son, leaving a trail of agonizing screams and life-threatening injuries. My son's Andrew's injuries were horrific. The drunk driver severed my son's spinal cord, broke both his legs, caused massive brain damage, and left his body a mangled mess. Andrew didn't die right away. He lingered late into the night following the crash. In the early morning hours of October 1st, 2018, I sat with my family in the pediatric ICU, holding my son's hand, playing his favorite songs, and we all took turns saying our goodbyes. As the minutes went on, Andrew's body grew cold. I leaned forward and whispered into his ear, "I'm so sorry, baby. My sweet wife, go to the light, find the warmth, and go be with God." I heard the heart monitor beep steadily become flat. They turned off the ventilator, and at 4:07 a.m., my sweet boy, Andrew Spencer McMorris, at 12 years old, was pronounced dead. No parent should ever have to endure the loss of a child. Andrew was our Renaissance man. He was an artist, a thespian, a dancer, a musician. He played guitar and piano and mandolin and ukulele. He ran cross country and skied. He was learning to be a pilot and was a loyal Boy Scout. He was a friend to everyone, and his best friend was his sister. His smile and laughter could fill a room, and the pain of his loss is real and suffocating. Like claws have entrapped your heart, and you are forced to wear a pair of jeans 2 sizes too small. My life now is separated into before and after. To be completely honest, the impact Andrew's loss has had on me is completely overwhelming, and the ripple effect of his death is like a tsunami for myself and all of those around us. How do I process my child being ripped from me due to the irresponsible, selfish actions of one person? Why didn't anyone stop him? I am now a person I do not recognize, and each day I wake up trying desperately to be the mom Andrew would remember, the woman my daughter Ariana wants back, and the wife my husband John needs. But I'm changed. In the fall of 2019, right at the same time the horrific trial to obtain justice for Andrew was beginning, I was shown a video of a speech from the Chief Master Sergeant of the 106th Rescue Wing from West Hampton, New York. His words really touched me, and I want to share them with all of you. What does resilience mean? The dictionary definition says resilience is an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change, the capacity to recover from difficulties and toughness. He went on to say that he used to think resilience was the ability to bounce back, but really it is the ability to move through the hardships, the pain, the fear, and the suffering. None of us escapes those as much as we try. But from pain can come wisdom, from fear can come courage, and from suffering can come strength, if and only if we are resilient. It doesn't matter who you are, you can overcome the dark times by being brave and never losing sight and confidence in your own soul's strength. One of my favorite quotes given to me through this journey was, "Be the things you love most about those who are gone." So through our despair, we found hope in creating a foundation so that we may have a vehicle to change from parenting our Andrew to parenting his legacy. I think every family member knows that desire to preserve their loved one's legacy so they are not forgotten, to make their death mean something more than the horrific pain and loss that we feel every day. We all know too well that arresting and jailing drunk driver rarely keeps them from driving drunk again. More than 10,000 people in the U.S. still die each year because of drunk driving. That is equivalent to one 737 airliner crashing each week without survivors. We can do better to stop this from happening in the first place and change the system by preventing it with technology that exists now. I am proud to have been involved with the MADD's national team in supporting technology that was signed into law last year, but we have so much more to do both nationally and at the state level. I remember thinking that Andrew's death would be enough to change the world. I was devastated when it wasn't. But I now have hope that we are seeing the beginning of the end of drunk, drugged, distracted, and otherwise impaired driving, so that Andrew's death and the deaths of so many others killed by this 100% preventable crime will not be in vain. We had an event in honor of Andrew's 16th birthday this past month. Andrew wanted to be a pilot, so what better way to honor him was to have a run on an actual runway. There were overcast skies, and the sun began to peek through. And if I could picture what it would look like as our loved ones peeked down from heaven to check on us, this would be the picture. I'd like to read you one additional edited quote from the blog, The Life I Didn't Choose. Our love doesn't end simply because a loved one leaves this earth. The relationship is not over as long as a bereaved heart beats. So we are faced with a challenge. How do we express love to honor a relationship with a loved one that is out of sight and out of reach? We tell our stories and theirs. We start foundations, we fund scholarships, and we do random acts of kindness in honor of them. We lobby legislators and city councils. We post pictures on social media to keep their memories alive. And we say their names. Thank you.
My name is Natalie Parkinson. I came to be with MADD in 2007 when we lost our eldest daughter, Renee. This is a picture of Renee. She was 26 years old, and she was on the way home on the 4th of July from watching fireworks down in Pittsburgh, which is something that was a favorite activity of hers. So I was contacted by MADD fairly quickly, not only from someone in Pennsylvania, but also in Virginia, where I lived at the time of the crash. And it just so happened that the MADD volunteer that was in Virginia had just lost her son in a DUI crash in another country. And both of our kids ended up on the obituary page in the newspaper on the same day. So that was kind of interesting. And I started getting involved right away. The very first thing I did was help out with a roadside sobriety check. And that was fascinating, eye-opening, fascinating. And I knew this was going to be a long, long journey. So moving forward, we ended up moving to Pennsylvania for a job from my husband. It happened to be just miles from where my daughter used to live. So I became more involved here, became a speaker at VIPs, and then that branched into other things, such as volunteering to go into a school or helping with an event. Or Pam and I got involved with the walk. We started the walk here actually in Pittsburgh, so we're on our 8th year, and we're doing our vigil in person as well as the virtual next week. So I was reminded, I found a quote, and I think it pretty much sums up why I volunteer. Because a lot of people think, okay, you lost your daughter. That was 15 years ago in 2007. Aren't you moving on yet? And, you know, their eyes might be rolling a little bit. And I just have to say and remind people that there's a quote that I'm going by when I volunteer. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who wrote it, but it said, someday you will tell your story and it will be another person's survival guide. And that sums everything up. That sums up why we help the next victim going to court, because we know that this is a really horrible thing and it doesn't need to happen. And like so many other things we don't have control over, we can have control over this if we just all put our heads together. So helping somebody else through the trauma, it's not fun, but it is rewarding in the sense that we've taken what we know and what we've gone through as a family and pay it forward to somebody else who needs just that little bit more help, or that phone call or that hug or whatever it is that they need. So Pam and I have been working together. We met at a VIP and we do pretty much everything together. We even started a little support group here at Pam's house that we meet from time to time, just to give people a safe place to come where you don't have to put on any kind of air for anyone. You just show up. If you feel like laughing, you can laugh. If you feel like crying, you don't have to offer any explanation, because we can look in your eyes and see exactly where you are. So that was our goal, because we all feel like we're alone, but we're really not, unfortunately. So we're doing our best to try to make it stop on behalf of our kids.
And I'm Pam Mondash. I joined MADD probably 8 years ago, and it was because I lost my son David to a drunk driver. And that will be 11 years this July. He was a wonderful young man. He was an outstanding son. He was the best friend to my daughter. And his most important role was the father of 3 children, which he left behind when the drunk driver took his life. Part of why I do this is to protect the lives of my grandchildren, because now I have 2 drivers and the third just got his permit. And I don't want this to happen to this family again. We still haven't recovered from the loss of David. And I don't want I don't want to have to live this nightmare another time. So I don't watch television much, but the other night, my sister was visiting and we were watching 911. And there was a comment made about, we never know how many lives we save. And we do the VIPs in hope of saving lives. We speak to thousands of offenders a year, hoping that they will take the message back and they will not continue to drink and drive. And we hope that we save their lives. But in addition, we hope that we save the life of someone that, if they hadn't been stopped, may have ended their lives down the road, a quarter of a mile. So we do this to protect the lives and the families so they don't have to go through the trauma that we've gone through. Natalie and I have created an environment where you can't be afraid to be and feel. And one of the greatest things that we do is our support group. And we're hoping to grow it because it's what we feel that the victims and survivors need. And it's a place that we call safe. And it's in a home. It's not, we're not counselors. We are normal people that have gone through this. And we can share our experience. They share yours. And we have a camaraderie and we have a family. And we're very proud of that. So that's another reason why I volunteer. But the primary reason is to try to save somebody's life.
I was 17 years old when Jess was killed. 3 days before I was to graduate high school. She was my family. She was the sister I never had, my best friend. She was everything. On June 18th, 2002, my world felt like it had ended. I went on to college and I struggled. I struggled after losing Jess, trying to make sense of life without her, the pain I felt. It was unbearable at times, and it was confusing, and it was challenging, and it was lonely. Watching my family and friends also grieve, it was hard to want to share what I was experiencing and what I felt when I could watch so many other people struggling daily with how they felt and their grief. And then one day, I think my senior year of college, I was contacted by my high school. And my former high school had asked that I come and I speak to the graduating class. And I was terrified. I did not want to do it. I didn't want to share my story. I didn't want to share my pain or my grief or how I felt. That was crazy, but I did it. And looking out into the audience, all I saw were, friends of mine that had graduated and their younger siblings getting ready to graduate and go out into the world, and so naive and unaware of all of the dangers out there, but they listened. They really did. And that changed everything for me. I went on to share my story with law enforcement and the state police, and being a part of some of their underage drinking initiatives. And I truly felt like I was making a difference, and that meant everything. And then one day, MADD fell into my lap, and it was almost as if Jess tossed it right there for me to catch. And I haven't looked back ever since. I get to go into work every day to make a difference and to use my experience to make a change and to hopefully impact those in need, to be that ear to listen, to help them navigate their pain and their grief, and let them know that they're not alone. They're not alone. I struggled for years with grief. Time is not a fixer of all. Sure, things get a little bit easier, but your grief is always there. It does not go away. It does not go away. There's so many things that I had looked forward to that she should be here for. She should be here. From going to college, to watching her play professional basketball, to getting married, to having kids. I was blessed to do all of that. I was blessed to get married and have kids. And I was blessed with a boy, and then my second, a girl. And my Mia Jessica is a spitting image of Jess, from her love and pure talent for basketball, which did not come from me. Her spunk, her personality, her humor. Every day, it's just a reminder. I feel like sometimes, Jess is like, you wanted to name your daughter after me. Well, here you go. But it's an amazing reminder every day. I am truly blessed to be a part of the MADD community. It's not a community you want to be a part of, but it is one that is so essential. There's a deeper understanding. There's a support system there that just doesn't go away. And I hope to be that for other people. And I hope that those that I work with know that they're that for me as well. I'm grateful. I'm grateful every day.
Gone but not forgotten.
Although we are apart, your spirit lives within me,
Forever in my heart.
The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted first came the date of the birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent life on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love, and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel. Be less quick to anger and show appreciation more. And love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, will you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
My name is Alex Oddie.
My name is Michelle Ramsey.
Lisa Black.
Donna Davila.
Jeff Kidlassic.
Jennifer Zavala.
Jared Swan.
When I was 13 years old, I was run over by a drunk boater. It left me with severe injuries from head to toe that I will have for the rest of my life.
And an impaired driver killed my 4-year-old son and my 6-year-old son.
An impaired driver left me severely injured in continuous pain.
Killed my daughter and unborn granddaughter.
Left me permanently disabled at the age of 23.
An impaired driver killed my father and left my kids without a papa.
An impaired driver killed my brother.
MADD acknowledges that drunk and drug driving are violent crimes. We recognize these crimes and support the rights of victims and survivors. If you have been impacted by a drunk or drug driving crash, MADD is here for you. Reach out to our 24-hour victim helpline.